This tutorial is for Clue 1 of the Connote pattern by Janica Carter, which is the Expression Fiber Arts year-long mystery crochet along pattern for 2025. In this pattern, you're going to be doing, start out with foundation single crochet or chains and working single crochets in them, working a row of half double crochet, and then the pattern is going to be a repeat of working a single crochet and a front post double crochet on the front side of the work, and then working a single crochet back post double crochet on the back side of the work. So you get these ridges on the front from the post stitches, and then the back is going to be a very, very flat, almost solid fabric on the back. So let's get started. All right, so you're going to want to put your slip knot on your hook. And then I am going to work the foundation single crochet. I'm just going to do a shortened swatch here. I'm not doing the, I'm not working across 109 stitches. I'm actually just going to work across 9 stitches. So foundation single crochet, if you've never done it, you start with your slip knot on your hook, and then you're going to chain 2. And I like to hold this first stitch just because, so I'll kind of show you as I go along, but basically I always pinch with my thumb and my middle finger on the what ends up being the chain stitch each time, and so it just gives me a guide for where my hook is going to go once I finish a stitch. So into that first chain, the chain that's closest to the slip knot, you're going to insert your hook and yarn over and pull through a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 1, so that's your chain stitch, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your single crochet. So then for each stitch, you're going to go into the chain stitch that you just made. So insert your hook into that chain stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 1, that's your chain stitch. So then I grab that and pinch it, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your single crochet. Again, insert your hook into the chain stitch that you made, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, that's your new chain stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, that's your new single crochet. And you're just going to continue this. Insert the hook into the chain stitch you just made, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, that's your chain, yarn over, pull through 2, that's your single crochet. Insert your hook into the chain stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, that's your chain stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, that's your single crochet. Insert your hook into the chain stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, that's your chain stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, that's your single crochet. And so you're just going to continue that sequence. Insert your hook into the chain stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, that's your chain, yarn over, pull through 2, that's your single crochet, until you have the number of foundation single crochet that you want. So I want a total of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll make a couple more here. That's 8. And this is 9. So you can just flip your fabric over. At this point, you're going to be working into these loops that are across the top of the fabric. So you will want to count again before you get started. So just know that this little loopy down here where your slip knot is, that doesn't count. So start from the first full stitch after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So first row is pretty simple. You're just going to chain 2, and then you're going to work a half double crochet into each stitch. I got my, okay. So half double crochet, yarn over the hook, insert it into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then you're just going to do that all the way down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's the end of row 1. So at the end of row 1, you should have what looks like, this is your foundation down here. So it's a little bit gappier, I guess, and then your half double crochets up here. So then we chain 1, and then this is row 2. So row 2, you start with a single crochet in the stitch that's directly next to the hook here, so kind of at the base. And then we're going to alternate single crochet. After the single crochet, we're going to do front post double crochet, single crochet all the way across. And so it can be a little confusing when you're doing this, just because when you're working flat, the tops of your stitches are the opposite on each. So you basically turn the tops of the stitches that you made back here, where it's pretty clear to see where the top of your stitches are that you just made. It's flip-flopped, and so just remember you're looking for the post that's closest, and then when you work the single crochet after that, you're going to look for the top of the stitch that's further away. So as you make these post stitches, the top of that stitch is actually going to end up at an angle. So to make the front post double crochet, yarn over your hook, and then you're looking for this post. Okay, so you have your stitch anatomy is kind of, you have the top of your stitch. I don't know if you can see that, because let's see if we can get good contrast on the background here. So for each stitch, you have the top of your stitch, which is this V stitch at the top, and then you have your third loop, which is this stitch right, or this horizontal part right here, and then you have your post. So the post of your stitch is underneath that horizontal third loop. And when you're making a post stitch, you're going to want to go with a front post stitch with your hook. You want to go in, like from front to back, on the right side of that post, and go behind the post and come out from back to front on the left side. Okay, so when you have your stitch on your hook, you're going to yarn over the hook, and then you're going to go from front to back on the right side of that post, behind the post, come out the left side of that post, and then yarn over, and you're going to pull that yarn through behind that post. Okay, so that's making your post stitch. You're working behind that post instead of into the stitch. And then you just make your double crochet as usual. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So when I make that post stitch, it actually is going to pull the top of that post stitch at an angle toward the back of the work. And so I know this is not the top of my next stitch. This is the top of my next stitch. All right, so in the next stitch, I'm going to want to work a single crochet. So it's always going to feel like your post stitch is very close to the stitch you just made, and it's going to feel like your next single crochet is far away from the stitch that you just made. So another front post double crochet, so yarn over the hook, from front to back on the right side of the post, go behind the post, come out from back to front on the left side of the post, yarn over and pull, loop through, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So again, I made this post stitch. I've got the top of that stitch is kind of higher than the stitch I want to work into. So remember, I don't want to go into the top of the stitch that directly next to that post. I want to go slightly over to the left, because I actually want to make a single crochet in the top of the stitch that's slightly to the left of the next post. Okay, so single crochet, and then another front post double crochet. So this one's going to seem closer. All right, so I worked into the top of the stitch, and now my post is just right there. So again, I'm going to go from front to back on the right side of that post and go behind the post, come out from back to front on the left side, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then I need to identify the top of my next stitch. So I find the post and then go to the left of that, single crochet. And then in the stitch after that, I'm going to make a front post double crochet. So again, I'm looking for this next post. I'm going to go in from front to back on the right side of that post and go behind it and come out from back to front on the left side. Yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then to finish out my row, I just have a single crochet in the final stitch. All right, so keep in mind in the previous row we had that chain 2 at the beginning. So don't work into that, you're working into the top of that last stitch. All right, we're not doing anything with that chain 2. So that is the end of row 2. So at the end of row 2, we turn, we do a chain 1, and your row 3 is going to feel like your complicated row. This is a row where we're working a back post double crochet. So we start by working a single crochet into the first stitch, and then our back post double crochet is going to be going into the same stitch that we did it's going to be going into the front post double crochet from the previous row. So yarn over your hook, and then, so normally when you're working on the back side of the fabric, you're kind of holding the fabric here and you're working into the stitches away from you. You're kind of, the fabric is folded away from you. So the front is kind of, right now, the front of my fabric is facing my lap. All right. What I want to do is when I'm working these back post double crochets, I actually want to turn my fabric so that I can see at least the top of it, if not most of the front, because I'm going to want to find that front post that I just made, and I'm going to bring my hook to the back of my work, and when I find that post, and I want to use the top of my hook to kind of push it forward. So I want to go underneath that post that I made in the last row with my hook, and then I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull the yarn underneath that. All right, so you want to be careful when you do this, because there's a lot of strands in that area that can get caught. So kind of rotate your hook underneath, so that instead of coming toward that post, your hook is actually facing closer to the top of your project. All right, so you don't want it facing the back. You don't want the hook part facing the back of the project, and you don't want it facing the front. You want it actually kind of facing the top of the stitch, the line of stitches that's up here as you pull that through. And that's just going to be the least likely to snag anything. So as you're pulling it through, you can kind of push the post up underneath your hook. So let me show you that again. So yarn over your hook, rotate the fabric so that you can see the front of it, and locate that post and kind of push your hook underneath it, so that and you want to make sure you're doing this as close to the top of the stitch as possible. So you don't want your hook way down here in the middle of the post. You want it under the very top of that post. So push it underneath that post, yarn over, and when you pull through a loop, kind of lift, use your grip on the fabric to pull that toward your hand, and your grip on the hook to push up that post as you pull the stitch under. Okay, and then just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now if you look at the top of your stitches, the stitches that you worked a post stitch into should look slightly bigger than the stitches that you worked a single crochet into. So if I look at the top of my stitches here, I have a little stitch and then a bigger stitch, a little stitch, a bigger stitch, a smaller stitch, a bigger stitch, a smaller stitch. All right, so that's a clue as to where your single crochets go, because as you're working these post stitches, it does kind of mess up the landscape of the stitches. They don't look the way that you would normally expect them to. And so you can look down and you'd be like, wait, so my next top of my stitch is right here. Well, no, that's actually the top of your post stitch. So we don't want to work into the top of the post stitch. We want to work the single crochet into the single crochet from the previous row, okay, which is going to be the smaller stitch. The top of each post stitch is going to, as you work it, it's going to start to lean a little bit over to the side. And so it's not going to seem like it's coming straight across the top of your fabric. So again, we need to make another back post double crochet. So we're going to go yarn over the hook and then flip that fabric more towards you, locate that post and push the top of your crochet hook underneath it, yarn over, and then pull that through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And you can see when I make that, the head of that stitch starts to slope up. All right, so I worked in front of the front of the stitch, that top of that front post from the last row, is actually getting pushed over toward me when I make that back post. I'm not working into the top of the stitch at all, and so it basically flips around to the back. So I don't want to work into that. I want to work into that smaller stitch to the left. That's my single crochet. So back post, double crochet again. So flip that fabric forward, find the post and stick the tip of your hook underneath it, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. Find the single crochet, which is going to be the smaller stitch next to that, single crochet, back post, double crochet. So flip that fabric forward again, push the top of my hook underneath it, yarn over and pull through a loop, and yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and then we end that row with a single crochet into the last stitch. All right. So at the end of row 3, you should have your you should start to be able to see these longer posts coming up the fabric, and it may be a little tough to see just depending on the color of your fabric. I definitely recommend, if you're doing this for the very first time, if you've never worked this kind of like with the front post and back post, I strongly recommend you use a solid colored yarn for this, because the more color difference, so if you're using a tonal yarn, if you're using a variegated yarn, it's just going to be really, really hard to see what you're doing. And so I would strongly recommend using a solid colored yarn. And if your eyes are getting old, like mine, maybe a lighter colored yarn as well, just so that you're able to see each of the stitches as you work. So I'm going to work 2 more rows here just to finish out the pattern, but you're basically repeating what we just did. So start with a chain stitch and then single crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet into the next post. So when you do this, you want to make sure that you're not coming down really low here on the post. That's going to shorten your swatch significantly, or your fabric. All right, so you always want to make sure as you make a post stitch that you're coming up underneath you're going behind the post as close to the top of the stitch as you can get, okay? So you don't want to go under. It's possible to, when you're working into this, to end up underneath the top of the stitch but above the third loop. You don't want to do that. You want to do your stitch into the top of the post that's underneath the third loop, okay? So front post double crochet, and then again, it will be a little bit harder to see where your single crochets go, because these post stitches are basically flipping the top of the stitches backwards, so like over more toward the back of your project, and those post stitches are going to be pushing those single crochets smaller. And so again, you should, if you look at the top of your project, you're going to have your smaller stitch, your bigger stitch, your smaller stitch, your bigger stitch, your smaller stitch, your bigger stitch. Your smaller stitches are where your single crochets go. So each time after you work the front post double crochet, just remember your single crochet is going to be very close to the next post, and your double crochet, your front post double crochet, is going to be very close to the, so let me say that again. Your single crochet is going to be very far to the left near the next post. So the next post to the left, your single crochet is going to be kind of butted up right next against that. And your next front post is going to be very close on the right side to the single crochet that you just worked. So front post double crochet, again, getting in under that post as close to the top as possible. And then single crochet, which goes in the stitch that's further to the left than you think it should be. Front post double crochet, single crochet, front post double crochet, and end with a single crochet. And again, because of that front post double crochet, your single crochet from the end of the row may have gotten pulled slightly behind it. So just kind of pull it back out and work into that last stitch. Okay. So this is what you should have at the end of row 4. And then row 5, single crochet, work a single crochet into the single crochet from the previous row, and then we're going to be doing the back post double crochet around that front post double crochet from the previous row. So again, kind of flip that fabric towards you so you can see the top of that stitch and get your hook underneath it, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then our single crochet is going to be way far to the left. Okay, so at this point you should be able to use your fingers on your non-crochet hook hand. So I know there are some people who are doing left-handed crochet, so you should be able to feel the post from the next row each time. And so as you're working your single crochet, you should be able to feel, okay, my post is here, so my single crochet goes directly to the right of that. Okay, so back post double crochet, and then I use my finger to find my next post, and then I know my single crochet goes directly to the right of my finger. And then back post double crochet, single crochet, back post double crochet, and finish off with a single crochet at the end of the row. And at this point, I'm going to work rows 4 and 3 on just a little bit bigger piece of bigger yarn, thicker yarn with bigger needles to demonstrate that again. So here I have a bigger swatch on thicker yarn with a larger hook. So this is Expression Fiber Arts Dewy DK. For those who care, it's the colorway Jungle. And I am using, let's see, this is a 6mm, no, is that right? I'm blind. Yeah, 6mm hook, which is also a USJ or 10. So I'm just going to demonstrate, just because the yarn is a little thicker, it's a little lighter colored, it's a little easier to see what I'm doing. I am going to demonstrate rows 3, well, technically 4 and 3 on here. So I'm going to work a right side row and then a wrong side row, just so you can see the stitch anatomy a little bit better. Before I even start row 4, which is the right side row, if you turn and look at the top of the stitches, again, you can see you have a, right here underneath my stitch there's a thin stitch or a smaller stitch, and that's the single crochet that I'm going to be working into. And then I have a bigger stitch, smaller stitch, bigger stitch, smaller stitch, bigger stitch, smaller stitch, bigger stitch, smaller stitch, bigger stitch, smaller stitch. Wow. I actually did that without messing up. I'm really impressed with myself right now. So your bigger stitches are your post stitches, and your smaller stitches are your single crochets. And so that kind of pay attention to those landmarks as you're working. Just keep in mind that once you work a post stitch, it's going to push your next single crochet closer to the next post stitch. And that as you work these post stitches, it is going to be pushing the tops of the stitches over toward the back. And so just once you're aware of that, it helps you know you do need to flip that fabric a little bit to see the stitch you need to work into. So to start a row 4, begin with a chain 1, and then we single crochet into that single crochet that's at the base of that. And then we work a front post double crochet. So yarn over your hook and then find your post here, and then you're going to go. So once you have a few rows of posts, it's going to be really easy to find your post to work into. So just from front to back behind that post and come out again from back to front. yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then you can see that this post here now is pushing my single crochet, which is right here. My single crochet is right here. It's pushing it toward the back, and it's kind of wanting to hide it. And so just as I work, I need to be aware that it's going to be back here, and that to get to it, I'm going to have to kind of push up next to the next post. Okay, so single crochet, and then front post double crochet. And again, my single crochet is hiding back here. So the posts almost, they want to, it's kind of like ribbing where they want to roll together. And so you're going to kind of pull them apart and then flip over here to the back to find that stitch, because you're working the single crochet into the top of the stitch, and then kind of roll forward to work the front post double crochet. All right, front post double crochet, and then my single crochet. Again, I kind of need to rotate here back to the back to find it. Front post double crochet, single crochet, front post double crochet, and then we end with that single crochet. All right, turn, and then row 3, we start with a chain stitch and then single crochet into that first stitch, and then we're going to work a back post double crochet. So you can see my back is already pretty flat, or at least I hope you can see that. There's very little texture at all on the back, and then I've got these ridges on the front. You should be able to see that. All right, so yarn over my hook, and then I'm going to rotate my fabric forward, and I'm going to find that post coming up here, and I'm going to come as close to the top as possible, butt my hook underneath that post, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then from here, so this right here, so if this is my post stitch, right here is the head of that stitch that I just worked into, the top of that stitch. Okay, so I need to come 1 stitch to the left of that to make my next single crochet. Then yarn over, make my next back post double crochet. So again, I'm flipping that fabric toward me, but the head of my crochet hook underneath that post, yarn over and pull through a loop. So I'm kind of pinching that fabric and pulling it toward me, and then I'm lifting the post away from the fabric as I pull my hook through to keep from snagging anything. And then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then that single crochet again. So this is the right here behind that post, kind of coming off to the left of that post. That's the head of that front post double crochet from the previous row. All right, so that's the top of that stitch, and my single crochet that I want to work into is this little tiny stitch to the left of that. Single crochet, back post double crochet, again, flip that fabric forward. So I yarn over my hook, I flip the fabric, and then I push my hook under that post, yarn over, pinch the fabric, and then I'm pushing away from that fabric with my hook as I pull it through. Okay, so as you get used to doing this, you can do it a whole lot faster. I'm slowing it down so that you can see what I'm doing, but it does become, you can kind of get a rhythm down of working each of these stitches. It's just a matter of knowing where your hook needs to go each time, and kind of learning. You're basically changing the terrain of your stitches as you're working this fabric. And so if you can figure out what the changed terrain looks like. So again, if you look at the top of your stitches before you start, your post stitch stitches are going to have bigger tops than your single crochet. So this is a post stitch, this is a single crochet, this is a post stitch, this is a single crochet. So the tops of your stitches are going to be a clue, and then just knowing that as you work the post stitches, it's actually going to be flipping the tops of your stitches toward the back of the work. So when you're on the front, when you're working the front post stitch, it's going to be flipping the top of those stitches over. And when you're on the back, it's going to be doing the same thing, but you're going to be seeing the tops of the stitch from the previous row kind of to the left of the stitch that you just made. And you just need to be aware that's the top of the stitch you just worked into. You need to find the smaller stitch that's to the left of that to work those single crochets. So I hope that's helpful. If there's something I didn't show that you want to see, if there's something that you want to see slowed down or explained a different way, just ask. I'm happy to make a different video showing something that is helpful. I need to know what you need to see. So just ask. I'm happy to do it. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.